Hey guys, I want to talk about a subject that has, I've been hearing a lot about lately with the, individuals coming into our offices. And that is the subject of retiring. Some people have this notion in their mind that they're going to retire at a really good age. They say, hey, at 50, I want to be out of here, or 60, I want to be out of here. Uh, Nobody says they want to retire at 70 or beyond. They would say, 50. Some people have 40 as retirement goals. Having an age in mind for retirement is one thing, but you have to have a retirement account or a financial setting that's going to enable you to retire, with those goals that you have in mind. And that's where the rubber meets the road. How much are you putting away? How much are you investing to prepare for that future? Now, get it. Who wants to be 45, 55, 65, 70 on a job because they have to be there? Now, some people are in their passion and they want to work and do something that they love. There's nothing wrong with that. And you should always, if that's in you to do that, that's fine. Even running this company, I want to do this, for the foreseeable future because I love it so much. But it's optional. And when it becomes mandatory, that's a whole different game when you have to be there or you have to have a job. And you hear it's for health insurance, it's for grandkids, it's for, some people keeping a roof over my head. But, lots of time, people are, continuing to work because they have to, because they got a late start in life on retiring, or they didn't understand money, from 18, 19, early 20s, 30s perhaps, getting to 40s, 45, they started understanding money, and some people start raising these flags and say, hey, wait a minute, I have nothing put away, and I don't want to be working past 55 or 65. And then they get into this emergency mode. But by that time, the avalanche of the life experiences have accumulated. What do I mean? What do I mean by that? Well, the home. You may have perhaps grandkids. A plethora of things that is requiring you to have money put away, and you're not there now. Again, and you got a set of people that have been putting money away and doing the right things, but they go through a life change, divorce, lost spouse, medical bills. Those things can interrupt your planning. And the question is, what do you do? And how can you address that now? That's what I want to kind of talk about today. Not to bash people, because guys, I get it. With the inflation, with these jobs, how they cut back, and how when I say cut back, it's going to impact if you're in a retirement plan. So you were at a job and that was your plan, and they cut back. Now they say, hey, you and your 401k, whatever you were doing with them, can go, right? And you got to go and start over again with a new company. I mean, I tell investors all the time, long gone are the days where you can get that corporate job in your 20s and stay there till you're 50. Those, opportunities are getting fewer and far between because artificial intelligence and just the way businesses are operating these days, it's different. They will wipe an entire department out and replace it with, offshore work, or with AI tools that can do the automate this stuff. And I'm telling you, AI is coming for the middle class, that, well, I shouldn't say the word middle class, but the white collar. I hate to use that term, but the white collar workers, the service workers, people who are processing the data. AI can do it fast, and it never needs an off day. It never needs vacation, so on and so forth. So we are at a moment in time where you're going to have to really be intentional on how you're thinking about retiring and how you're even treating the money that you have. Okay, just throwing out a few stats really quick, right? According to the Federal Reserve, and of course, you hate to bring race into things, but we have to look at it from that perspective. It says only according to the Federal Reserve, believe it or not, the feds and the government watch spending patterns, who's got what in savings, what groups of people are spending their money on. Guys, they have stats out there. How many people of a certain race are ready for retirement? What are they putting their money on? And so on. The spending patterns of a group of people. They watch all of those metrics are coming into the government. The government takes all those metrics and they create policies to address or sustain what they see. Look it up. 23% of African Americans say they're on track for retirement. I'm going to repeat that. 23% of African Americans say they are on track with their retirement goals. Now, compare that to the amount of discretionary spending that same community has. I'm going to tell you, you can go Google all the facts. I'm going to tell you, we're spending a whole lot of money, keeping the economy going, corporations rich, everybody, that's in authority and who's got power, that top 1%, we're keeping all that comfortable, but individually, 23%, which is 1 out of every 4, is on track. That means 3 out of 4 people that you see that look like you are not on track for retiring. And that's a fact by the Federal Reserve. At the same time, you talk to people, the mindset is this: I'm going to go to work, pay my bills, and then I'm going to spend what's left on discretionary items. We start talking about, investing, people start to ask questions or side eye, what do you mean? And, some of that stuff, or they just don't understand. That's why Summer Investments is in business, to bring it out to you, to let you know, hey, think about every dollar that you're making and be intentional about what you're spending and how you're spending it. Even Warren Buffett says, that's one of the wealthiest investors out there. He said, hey, pay yourself first, do what's, do the bills and other stuff later. Pay yourself first. What does that mean? That means I went to work an entire week, 2 weeks or a month, for the sole purpose of taking care of myself. Now, some people may say, well, I'm taking care of myself by paying my bills. Those bills are created, and those are companies, whether it's your mortgage, car notes, credit cards. That money is going, it's taking care of you, but it's only, ensuring that you have the ability to go back to work. Car, house, food. That's just going to make sure you go back to work. So that's to me, that's a zero-sum game when you're talking about I'm working to pay my bills and that's all I'm working for. That means we got a net zero there, because all I've done was I've created a process where I'm able to be healthy. I got a roof over my head so I don't get sick. Now I'm able to go back to work, right? So the mortgage companies, car companies, they're getting revenue from you. But what are you doing for yourself outside of that, right? So that's what we want to talk about here. I want to talk about how important it is to be strategic and intentional about investing for you. Now, as people watching this now, let's say you were 25 years old, 22 years old. You got your first job. Could have been at Dillard's, could have been at Walmart, anywhere. And every time you got a paycheck, you took 10% of that. Let's pretend that the markets were easy, you could figure it out. You took 10% of that money and you invested it from the early 20s to now. Watching the compounding value of stocks over those years, however old you are, how rich would you be today? Right? And The only thing I've said was and think about 10%, guys. That's like a tax, right? That's one out of every $10, right? And so if you made 100, you took $10 out of $100 from that early, from the early job up until now. $10 out of 100, which you probably lost on taxes and just even driving home, stopping at Smoothie King, you would spend that. And you invested it wisely. You would be so ready for retirement. I mean, you would be at the point where when you walked off that job and you guys wanted to take a trip to Indonesia, you want to go to Greece, and you could go out there and stay for a few months, then go to another country and stay for months at a time because your money have worked for you over the years. You got so much put up that you're able to live that kind of lifestyle, and then you're able to come back home and you're not going to work. You can do what you want all day, every day. That's retirement. That is a goal. And there are people living like that, right? You go look at these cruise ships and you go to some of these resorts, there are people living like that. The only difference is they kind of understood money earlier if it wasn't given to them, and you didn't. Y'all put the same amount of work in, same consistency of going to work every day, but they were able to retire and you are not. Now, even today, there is a call for the Social Security Administration made a warning to Congress to say, hey, don't change Social Security without knowing what you're doing. Don't just rush this through. You can look that up as well. And the reason why I brought that up in the retirement conversation is some people have this thought in their mind that the government is going to have something for me when I'm done with all this stuff. Let me tell you something about that. If there's a will for them to finagle out of sending you your fair share, you better believe it's going to happen. So do not rely on Social Security alone to take care of you. Now, some people say, well, Ray, I'm just going to keep working. I can just keep working. Well, just like what LeBron is about to find out, Father Time has a way of interrupting us, right? So in other words, you may feel like getting up going to work now, regardless of what that field is. At some point, you may not feel like going to work, or you may not feel like taking orders from someone 20 years younger than you, and you know better. So at that point, you're forced to be there, and that's not going to be a good feeling in your golden years. Some of us have been working since we were 16 years old. Who wants to be later on in life, working and having to be there? So that's something that you have to think through, okay? So we want you guys to think about investing and to be serious about investing, okay? This is not something that, you should take lightly. You have to be very intentional about, what your plans are with retirement. So I just want you to think through this. With the lifestyle that you have, how much money do you need per month? All right, to be comfortable. I ain't talking about just paying your bills, can't go anywhere. That ain't the life I want. I don't think anybody want that life, right? I mean, you don't want the life of, if anything happens, there's an emergency. You want to be able to be comfortable. What does that number look like for you, right? Now, some people are living in very expensive cities. Some people are in cheaper cities. Some people are rural. Some people, are in, places like, major metropolitan areas. So it's going to look different. Right? They can be the same age, but their expenses are going to look different. So you have to look at, what kind of expenses do you think you're going to have, and how are you preparing for that? How are you preparing to live that lifestyle when you're not working? Again, there is going to be a finite period on how long you can work. I mean, you start hitting, 40, 50, 55, and you're like, well, I got another job. And then all of a sudden you're competing with AI and somebody 28 years old that's more than capable of building, of working with that company, and that company making decisions saying like, well, that person's going to be with me a little longer than you will be. So it'll be harder to find jobs, later on. So you have to be very intentional about being able to take care of yourself in the later years. So what does that look like for you? So, have you ever calculated what that requires? How much money is that going to be? Okay. So we want you guys to think through the importance of retiring. Now, I can get on the soapbox about investing now. Retirement is something that's so important that these corporations have created what they call the 401k programs, these Roth IRAs, all those things. Those programs are investing in companies. What are these companies? All the Fortune 500 companies out there. The things that are making money and they're having profit and they're generating goods and revenue. Corporations out there say, hey, when you come work for us, we're going to have this thing, 401k, that you can take some money out of your check, put it in there, and forget about it and let it work for you. Now, that's the stock market, right? People are investing in the stock market every day, okay? When they sign on to these corporations, we have here in our offices right down the street, there's an International Paper Corporation, right? Building full of people. They have like 6 buildings over there. 401k is there. So all of those white collar jobs, you start, coming out of college, you go through your human resources, start talking about your benefits package. Hey, we're going to match you, so and so percent. Every dollar you put in, we're going to match it another dollar, or 50% of that. Corporations know how important it is to invest, right? That's the best way for the average person to help themselves in retirement, to invest in common stocks, whether it's Apple, Walmart, all these companies out here. You are investing and putting your money there and say, hey, money, I don't need to spend every dime that I make. I'm willing to, part ways with you, but I'll meet you back in 20 years, right? Or 10 years, whatever the case is. Grow for me over time. And that's what the 401k programs are. Even the Trump administration came out with this bill or this thing where, newborns are investing in the markets. So people of means know it's important. Corporations know it's important. The question is, do you value it? Do you think it's important? If you tell me no, you're telling me that you're planning to work for the foreseeable future, and there's no end in sight, right? So I don't think you want that game. I think you want to be able to walk away where work, or be in a situation where work is optional for you. So it's very important to think through it and be ready for it. Now, there's another phenomenon out here, the inflation thing. So with inflation, so let me talk to the people. If you're between 20, 25, 30, 35, you got 20 more years of working. $1 today that you put away, or you put in a savings account. You say, well, I'm just going to save my money. You put that dollar in there today, maybe you can buy, you can get, whatever $1 can buy today. Just know that same dollar crawling in a savings account, right? It's going to buy you very little when you pull that dollar out. That means inflation is eating away at your money. So you can't escape the investment path by saying, I'm just going to save some money up. Because you know what normally happens to money that's saved? Something happens, right? And you have to pull out of your savings account, and you got to go and take care of some issue or some problem, and then there you are again starting from scratch, because you don't have enough saved. So savings is not going to be enough to help you in retirement. So that's something that I hope you don't have that in mind. Now, let's also think about this. People who are investing, let's say you are investing $250 a month, $750 a month, $1,500 a month. Investing now, not saving, investing. Think about, and they're doing over a long period of time, think about the drastic way of life, the difference of a way of life they're going to have in retirement when somebody is able to put some significant money away, right? So how much you're investing is important as well. So I say that number to say that the more you can invest and pull out of your operating economy, when operating economy is bills, discretionary for trips and fun and all this kind of stuff, the more you can pull out of there and put into investing in your future, the better off you're going to be. So I want you guys to really think about that and be, again, intentional about what you're doing. The compounding interest, the compounding returns year after year, and also the consistency with investing is going to be very, very important. You don't want to be in this game of saying, I'll take care of that later. Right now, I got bills to pay. I got this going on or that going on. Right? So that's not what you want to do. Now, we're about at the mid-year here. I want everybody watching to do this for me. Go back to January. Come all the way to where we are now, mid-year. Look at your bank statement. And then let that tell you what's important to you. Because some people will look at this and say, investment is important. My retirement is important. They'll say that. But when you look at the bank transactions, what's important to you, it's going to show up. Where you put your money is what's important to you. If you go back and look at 6 months of bank statements, and it's restaurants everywhere, traveling, concerts, all the stuff that people, do for entertainment. Then you see all your bills coming out. That's what's important to you. That's what's important to you. So let that be the guide. Don't let, what you're saying or your feelings about something say that's your guide. Your guide is what you're doing, not what you're saying. So, not to browbeat you, I'm saying if you go back from January to now, and if it's not, if you hadn't been putting money in the right areas, now's the time to do it. Now is the time to do it. So, pivot today and start being intentional about where you're putting your money. And I think you're going to be in a better space. Okay, so what's important? A budget. I talk through this, in our training classes. And some people say, "Well, I got a budget. I know what I got left. I know I got X amount of dollars." Budget, anyways. Budget what you have, right? If you got $100 left over, if you're done paying bills that you have, essential bills, and if you've done all these other things, if you got $100 left over, you should 10% of that should be invested, right? That's to the people who think that way. Warren Buffett says, get that initial paycheck, 10% off the top. We're going to put that in my investment portfolio, okay? 10% of your money should be invested off the top. So if you got a rule of thumb, if you had to get a point where you're going to start with that, saying, okay, the most important thing to me is me and the wellness of me in my latter years, where you may have, you don't know what, we don't know what's in front of us. Nobody does. And if you're going to have some money to deal with most of the stuff out here, you need to start being intentional and start prioritizing investing early and prioritizing it now. It's important today. And here's the thing about this message. It doesn't matter if you're 25 or 55. You still should be investing and prioritizing having your money work for you. Okay? So keep that in mind, because the only person that's going to thank you for that is you, the you that's 20 years older is going to go back and say, man, I'm glad I did that at a young age. Okay, so prioritize investing, and then, we want you to prioritize and make it. So first thing, budget, make sure you got to, look at your budget, and then you prioritize investing and say, hey, I'm taking, 10% of this money, and it's going to be put away for me in my latter years. And then, if you're not sure about how to do this, or if you have questions about being behind, or you're behind, or you have setbacks, medical bills, like I said, it could be divorce, it could be, your job unexpectedly, whatever. If you're unsure about how to proceed forward, reach out to Sidemore Investments. We got some things that we can help you with as far as trying to get you caught up. That's a purpose. One of the original purposes of founding this company in 2016. We wanted to make sure people understood the importance of it, and we wanted to make sure they have a clear path on how to get things accomplished from a retirement perspective, and we want to help them execute the plan to make those goals a reality. So, guys, just, think about money differently. It's not all there to be spent, and it's not all there for entertainment purposes. All the things that a lot of people spend their money on. You can do those things, but do it after you've taken care of all of the business. What is the business? Retirement is at the top of the list there. Make sure you guys are prioritizing that, and I think you'll be in good shape. So the good news is with the markets, if you invest strategically and right, we can get you caught up. And that's the good news in this conversation. If you got money coming in, you can get caught up on your retirement goals. Okay. Some people, it may take a little longer than others, but you can get caught up. So never feel like it's too late. We can definitely help you here at Simon Investments. So I'm going to wrap up, and hopefully I gave you guys some insight as to the importance of investing and the need to do it, and hopefully we have you guys on the right path. Thank you.